Well, hello and welcome back to another beautiful day in the south of England with me, Kieron Seamons, and the beautiful Mr. Miro here. We're going to do a nice relaxed drawing today. We're going to be doing a little bit of a pre-work, maybe some sketches and some ideas for the book 2 of the WORILIPS. So that's what today's plan is. We're going to be hopefully doing some sketches for WORILIPS. I'm doing okay with the pre-writing, so it isn't ready yet, but I'm enjoying the writing. I'm enjoying the direction. It's gone a little bit dark, but I'm wondering if that's the direction to go. But today we will do a lovely drawing. So, see you soon. Well, hello and welcome back. We are going to throw down some ink and we are going to let Norman fall onto the paper. Just got back from walking the dog. Mr. Miro is exhausted and he's asleep. I have gulped a couple of mouthfuls of coffee and I'm just going to put in a couple of guides on here. Shapes, just to kind of, because kind of getting a little bit I'll do. Right, so I'm doing some sketches now for WORILIPS. These might not even be in the book at this stage. I'm finding my way back to where I was before when I did. Is there another one? There is another one. Back when I did the WORILIPS books, there was two kind of yellowy orange books. There you can see it a bit better there. And that was the lovely illustrations on the front of that one, and that was a nice colourful one on that one. So that's the two books that are already done. There is another 3, I think. So lots you can run out and get. Highly recommended, of course. And since I have been away from drawing Norman, it will take me a little bit of time to kind of find him again. Don't like you. Go away. Find a different nib. Let's try that one. Ooh, what's that one? See one hidden down the bottom there. And sometimes it just takes time to kind of find that character again, you know. It's like you start drawing other things and other characters and other stories, and your mind starts to draw different habits and such. And that's a very good thing. But at the same time, what it does is it kind of gets your mind on different tracks, on different ways of thinking, and you know. And also your brains get a little bit lazy sometimes, you know. If you don't keep practicing and keep drawing, they go a little bit crazy. So keep drawing and keeping everything fresh. And I loved drawing Norman when I was doing the books. I loved the fact that, you know, I kind of limited myself. Well, not limited, I'd probably say the opposite. I gave myself more possibilities. I gave myself more possibilities in the fact that Norman never had ears and Norman never had a nose. So it basically mean I could give him any expression I wanted, you know. And I could basically have his mouth falling off his face if I wanted it. And that was beautiful. Because then it gives you this kind of freedom. It gives you the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want it. But it does kind of, when you're coming back to a character, it does kind of make you feel a little bit nervous about things. You know, am I drawing him the right way? And, you know, should it be like this? And should it be like that? And should he be, you know? But when you're actually in the process of doing the book, you know all these things. And you just do it naturally. And I was just fighting with my brain there to say, was Norman's head square or was it rectangle? You know, little things that you shouldn't think about. You shouldn't worry about. You should not get into those kind of discussions with yourself. You should sit down and you should draw that character. You know that character. You know the way he is. You know the way he reacts. You know the way he thinks because you wrote the book. You know? And it's only your kind of mental childishness really that kind of comes across and says, oh, does he have ears? Oh, is his hair square? You know, it's like, who cares if his hair's square? Draw what you feel. Draw the way you see it at that moment. And that's a really beautiful thing. You know, I start questioning about what kind of teeth. Did he have teeth? Did I ever draw him with teeth? Well, you probably did, but draw him now. Draw him the way you feel him, you know? And that really adds a lot to the character because I feel like it frees up a lot of your kind of anxieties and stuff like that. You just do it. And also by the fact I'm sketching in ink. And, you know, so for some people that's kind of a bit, you know, a bit scaredy type thing, you know. It's like, well, ink, oh, you can't fix ink. That's why I draw in ink, you know. That's why I love ink. I love ink because it does limit you in the way that you can't just go back and erase it. And I love that about it. I love that kind of, you have to let go, you have to relax, you have to just let your heart draw. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. Now, the way that I'm trying to think of this is that I'm trying to think of him grabbing a couple of pillows in fear. And the fear of what's going to happen and what is out there and all the kind of spooky ghosty stuff is what makes it exciting, because you can just sketch it. You just feel where he is and what's happening and how afraid is he, you know? Where is the wrinkles on the pillow? Where is he holding it? And all these things just come into the same way that if you're sketching. And I do love that. I do love the way that it lets your mind free a little bit. So, something has scared him. Something has made him jump. And he is clutching on to his pillows. Today we have sunshine in England and it's beautiful. Just walking through the park with some of the lovely dog walker people, as you've seen on my videos, and it's wonderful. Out there with John and Joanna and such. And that's the part where you switch your brain off, you know. You tell your brain left and brain right and go to sleep, you know. Go to sleep. I'm going to walk in the park. And that's an important part of my day. Important part of the day for Mr. Miro too, because he gets his run around. And they're starting to get the feeling of Norman. And another thing that I've been doing in my sketches with Norman, which I've noticed is a very bad habit, that I've been drawing his collar closer and closer and closer together. And I really don't like it. Ooh. Some big lump of something fell out of my ink pot. So what are you drawing today? What's going on in your life? Whatever part of the world you are in. The book takes on from where I had left off, and where I had left off was the fact that Norman had been saved from all the ghosties and the death and all the spooky horrible stuff, and he'd been saved. And there was a kind of I won't spoil it for you, but there was a red herring, if you wish, a kind of twist in the story where kind of it went a different direction. And the funny part about that was that really the story had been written, and I really wanted to make everything happen in book 2, and the twist came to me. It was kind of like, well, you know, if that happens and this happens and that happens and this happens, and all of a sudden, before it had gone to print, I'd rewritten a lot of it, and the story started to take a different twist, which was beautiful. It was very, very, very beautiful. And I'm extremely happy that, you know, my second brain was kind of saying, no, that's not the way the story happens. That's not the way the story ends. And it called me back. Into this realms of rewriting a lot of it. And although I was very unhappy at the time, because, you know, I was kind of like done and it was written. But I'm so glad that I did. Because it fueled on to the point where there's a lot going on in this story, a lot more going on. And for those who have read the book, and I hope a lot of you have, you will see that there is a part now that takes us in a different direction. And I'm extremely happy to be writing book 2. The writing process for me is very, 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 very difficult. It is something where I do sympathize with a lot of people, because it is a way of me falling into the darkest dark of my existence. It's that part where I go, well, you're not good enough to write a book. You couldn't write a book. No, no. You know, and even after however many hundreds of books I've now done, I'm still at that point where I go, yeah, but could you write book 2? Nah, I don't think you could write book 2. You know, you're constantly being negative with your own self, and it's a very, very bad thing. And I know a lot of people battle with that part of their life, this kind of self-doubt. And writing is one of the parts where it comes in for me. You know, especially when I'm, you know, when I did my first kind of book, and I would give it off to somebody to read through it, then they would come back and, you know, like some kind of editor would come back and they would say, you don't spell exasperated with an A, or something, you know. Oh, really? Oh, okay. How do you spell it? Yeah. Or you use the wrong there. It should be there, not there. You know. And that was very, very, very difficult for me at the beginning. Okay, so this is the part where I'm trying out this character. It was a character that didn't make it into book 1, and he didn't appear for the simple reason that I didn't quite know how to draw him. Or I felt that he wasn't interesting enough. And it's this character called Spencer, and Spencer is a ghost. And Spencer doesn't really do very much. He's not there to kind of haunt people. He's not there to scare people. In fact, he's not really a very talkative ghost. So what is he, and why? You know, and so there was lots of excuse me. There's lots of doubts about Spencer. For the simple reason that he wasn't kind of exciting enough, you know. And I know that when you're writing a book, you kind of got to make it thrilling and exciting and explosive, and Spencer wasn't. Spencer was just an okay person, an okay, quiet ghost. Often there, but not scaring you, and not causing a drama. So it was something that kind of took a long time to kind of, you know, if you're reading a book, you want to read about ghosts that kind of, you know, eat your soul or something like that. You know, everybody wants the drama of everything, and in my ghosts, I didn't really want them to be like that. I really didn't want them to. What is going on with this ink? It's all blobby at the moment. I really didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be ghosts that were like people almost, you know. Some of them were horrible and spooky and whatever else, and some weren't. And that became a very difficult part to write. That he was almost meeting friends and ghosty things. And I did worry a lot, especially when on the first draft, I was kind of thinking, well, you know, is this okay? Is this spooky enough? Is this scary enough? So it did take a long time to kind of find it, find why, you know. And that's part of the kind of the modern kind of drama of writing stories, that everything has to be explosive, you know, everything has to be super dramatic, and I didn't really want it. But then how do you sell books these days if they're not, if you're telling a very simple story? And I came down to the simple realization that I felt it was good enough. And when it was finished, I was very pleased with it. I mean, I'd done the illustration books, like I had done that one with a lot of my sketches and thoughts in it, that one. I can't see it in the light, can you? There you go. That was one of the early ones, and I did lots of drawings in there. That type of thing, you know. Those type of sketches. And lots of thoughts. And that kind of kept it to a point where I was a little bit nervous almost about kind of doing that type of book. And it took me a long time to actually sit down and write it. Write the story. Don't just do the drawings. Everybody knows that you can do the drawings, but you have to write the story. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who are going through that. Oh, someone's awake. Mr. Miro's awake. He's going to come and jump on my legs in a minute. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that want to write a book and don't. And I say, do it. Go and do it. Please, please, go and do it. Write that book. Get it out of your being, you know. It really is important. It's very important to get these things done. You know, because if you don't do it right now, then you will have bigger excuses later on. You'll have excuses like, oh, I'm too old. Oh, now I've got children. I don't have time, and blah, 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 blah. Whereas right now, you don't have an excuse. Right now, you are at that point where you're unsure. You're at that point where you just have self-doubt. That's all you've got. That's the only problem. And self-doubt's a good thing. Don't keep hiding on to it and saying, oh, it's, you know, this and this and this, and I can't do that and that and that and that. It's all rubbish. Whatever you're saying to yourself, it's all lies. You're lying to yourself. You think you can't write a book? I bet you could. I bet you think you can't illustrate a book? I bet you could. You couldn't jump out of an airplane? I bet you could. I bet you could. And I bet you've got an amazing book inside you. An amazing book that's desperate to come out. Desperate to be released. And I think you really need to get off your fat bum and go and do it. You know, I would kind of say go and do the book. And then read it and say it's not good enough. But do it first. Don't give up before you even start. That's really not good. So like I said, this is just a sketch. This is just me finding the soul again. And it's really, 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 really important for you to keep pushing yourself. As I do, I try to push myself, you know. I remember, like now, recently I've been fixing a lot of instruments, violins and mandolins and such. And I remember when my sister's violin broke. And I said, "Oh, I'll fix it for you." And I'd been interested in it for a long time. And when I sent her a photo of the violin in about 10 pieces, she was just like, "Oh my God, what have you?" I would be terrified, and I didn't want to say, "Well, yeah, I'm terrified too," but the thing is that if you don't take that step forward, you might never move forward. You might never move forward. And if you move forward and you make a mess, well, you moved forward. Okay? I would rather get to the part of looking back and not regretting anything, Yeah, I remember I took my sister's violin apart and I couldn't put it back together again. Oh, she killed me, Or you put it together and it sounded amazing and she loved you forever, The differences are massive. And sometimes you got your two brains kind of shouting at you and saying, "You can't do that, you can't do that." Well, sometimes you just got to go for it. And I must admit, I was absolutely terrified having to write the whole novel of Norman. And that is Spencer. Like I said, this is a sketch. It's for me finding that feeling again. See, even at the moment, I'm shading a lot. I'm kind of cross hatching a lot, and I didn't really do much of that in book one. But it seems to fit. It seems to work. And that's why I was kind of saying that, you know, I'm starting to feel like book two is already starting to get quite dark. A lot of the writing I've been doing is quite a darker edge to this, you know. Why did this in book one happen? Why is this going to happen now? What is happening with this? Who is this person? Lots of these questions coming in. And it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So this is one of the early sketches in getting my mind back into thinking about the whole situation. And again, don't be afraid to do a drawing and change your mind and throw it away. Just ink and paper. That's all. So this character was called Spencer. Nice. Again, as you can see, it's quite a dark image. You know, it's a dark feeling for the character, although he isn't really a dark character. Because we're talking about subjects of the other world, so it's very easy to have to draw them in a way that makes you feel like it's coming from the other world, you know. Spencer, what have you done, Spencer? Do I have a white ink? Probably don't have a white. I don't have a white ink, but I'm tempted to. As I'm starting to think these things, I'm kind of making myself. That's interesting. And I do like the idea of building up some white. Maybe I'll do it with paint. But I don't know. Again, experimenting. And it's a very nice way to kind of think of things. It's a nice way to kind of get to the point where you're kind of feeling different elements for the character. And this character is a very lovely kind of feeling to it. And that tiny little touch of white has really come into lifting up. Where's my lovely little brush gone? Oh, did you put it in the wrong pot? Silly boy. Silly boy, silly boy, silly boy. And I loved the whole kind of grey feeling with Norman as well. It was a very lovely type of feeling. I loved the way his character just took control of the whole story. And I let it happen. You have to listen to yourself a lot when you're coming up with a story, and you feel like with this story I was really kind of battling a lot with this idea of it being grey. And one of the beginning descriptions was a man in a grey world. He wakes up, dies in a colourful world, dies and wakes up in a grey world. And that was very, 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 very special for me. And I really felt it helped a lot. It really brought the whole story into the light in a strange way. You know, grey, but it brought it into the light. Really brought the whole thing to life. And I loved it. I loved it a lot. And, you know, there was a lot of very loose kind of grey painting in this as well. And I felt like the very loose grey feel to it brought a lot of character to the story. And it really developed in its own. It really just came to life. And I really enjoyed how kind of shabby the painting was. It was a very loose style. And it really worked. For me it worked. I don't know about you. What did you think of WORILIPS? What did you feel? For me, I had this vision of a man waking up in a grey world and seeing the ghosts, and you know, the part of the situation was that he woke up in this dark world and met all these ghosts, and it didn't really seem to bother him. Although he was kind of like unsure about it, it didn't really kind of ruin his life or didn't really scare him. He just kind of became comfortable with it. It's coming up nice. I'll drop in a little bit of a grey background on it once it's dried. I don't want to mess up too much with Spencer. I feel Spencer's worked out really quite nice. So, sorry I've been rambling and rambling and rambling and rambling all the way through this, and so that is the first sketches of the future, the book that is coming, the book that is already there. You already have these books, and if you haven't got one of these, go and get yourself one. Look at that fantastic picture on the front. Doesn't that explain everything? You got death there, you got demons there, you got ghosts there, you got crocodiles there. WORILIPS, go and get yourself one. You'll have to go and get it now because book 2 is going to be coming very soon. So, that is today's drawing. So, have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button. Come and see me. Come and see our drawings every single day. And that is a nice test for what we're going to be going forward with Norman. Okay? So, thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure. See you soon. Bye-bye.